You ever have those days where you just feel off, kind of disconnected, like something inside just isn't syncing up right? Well, what if the answer to that feeling is a really modern, kind of weird question? Is the Wi Fi in your body disconnected? I know, it sounds a little strange, right? But seriously, just take a second and think about that. What would it actually feel like if your own internal signal was lagging, or constantly buffering, or maybe even dropping out completely? Okay, so let's actually decode this metaphor. Because believe it or not, this isn't just some clever little phrase. It's actually a super powerful way to visualize that crucial connection between your mind and your body. Yeah, so think of this whole question less like a puzzle you have to solve and more like a key. It's a key that unlocks a totally new way of looking at your body's own internal operating system. What we're really doing here is simple. By thinking about our body like a wireless network, we can suddenly see these really complex biological systems in a whole new, much more intuitive light. It basically makes the invisible visible. All right, so if our body really is a network, then what are all the different parts? Let's break it down. And I think you're going to be pretty surprised at just how perfectly this whole analogy works. Just look at this. It's kind of wild how perfectly we can map these tech terms onto our own biology. Your brain, that's your central router. Your nervous system is the hardware, the wires and chips. And your mental and physical energy, well, that's your bandwidth. But what about the data itself, the signals flying around? It all starts right here, with the brain. Think about it. Just like the Wi-Fi router in your house directs all the data traffic, your brain is the master controller, the absolute command center for your entire body. It is constantly sending and receiving signals just to keep the whole show running. And what are those signals exactly? Well, they're your hormones and your neurotransmitters. You can think of them as the invisible little data packets zipping through your system. They're carrying all these critical messages that control pretty much everything, from your mood, thanks to serotonin, to how you react when you're stressed out, which is all about cortisol. So yeah, it's an absolutely brilliant system when everything is working smoothly. But what happens when that signal starts to get weak or laggy? What happens when it runs into some kind of interference? And that right there brings us to the sources of that interference. Let's dive into some of the most common signal jammers in our daily lives, the things that can really weaken that mind-body connection. So when you look at what's messing with our signal, there are a few huge culprits. I mean, poor sleep, that's a big one. And that feeling of just digital overload, for sure. But there's one that just towers above all the rest: chronic stress. Yeah, chronic stress is without a doubt the #1 signal jammer for our internal network. It just floods our entire system with static, making it almost impossible for those clear, important messages to actually get where they need to go. I mean, does this sound familiar to you? I feel like I have 50 tabs open in my brain, and they're all buffering. Wow, that just perfectly captures that feeling of mental overload, doesn't it? It's that feeling of your brain, your central router, being totally overwhelmed, completely unable to process anything. And the results of that weak signal, they're things we've all felt. That brain fog, that's your system buffering. That constant low energy, it's a low battery warning. Can't focus, that's a dropped connection. Feeling irritable, that's a classic system error. And anxiety, that feels like a non-stop blaring security alert going off in your head. But here's the good news. You are not powerless here. Not at all. Just like with any piece of tech, you can actually do some troubleshooting. So let's talk about some really simple, really effective tech support you can do for yourself to boost that signal strength. The whole solution really boils down to a simple 3-step system reboot. You ready? It's disconnect, move, and optimize. Okay, step 1, disconnect. You've got to reduce the interference, plain and simple. This means you have to intentionally create a kind of digital firewall. You need to give your brain, your router, a real break from that constant flood of notifications and emails and screens. Just let it rest. Next up, step 2, move your hardware. Getting some physical activity is kind of like running a defrag program on your computer. It just helps clean up the whole system by burning off those nasty stress hormones and boosting the good stuff, the very neurotransmitters that give you that strong, clear signal. And finally, step 3 is all about optimizing your mind. Think of this as clearing your mental cache. Things like mindfulness or meditation, or even just making sure you get good quality sleep. All of that helps clear out the mental clutter. And that allows your entire system to run way faster and a whole lot smoother. So, when it comes down to it, your body is constantly sending you signals, about its energy, its stress levels, what it needs from you. The real question is, in this super noisy world we live in, have you stopped to check your connection strength lately? Are you actually listening to what it's trying to tell you?